Hey everybody, and welcome back to another season of Spine Chill. This is season 3. Proud to be here with my wonderful co-host, Gary the Hot Cross. Here on the right in the video version, and below me, Doug, Running Man.
Hello.
And we're here with special guest, SpookyLoopz.
Hello.
And he is here to talk with us about all things DBD. I think it's worth knowing before we get into this, though, that we are actually the #1 video game podcast in Romania. We found out recently.
Huge.
So
Changed my outlook on how well this is going. Like, it's the sky's the limit.
big shout out to our Romanian fans out there. We couldn't do this without you.
Hell yeah.
First Romania, next the world, boys. We're out of here.
Yeah.
We're out of here.
Yeah.
Baby
Time
steps.
to be the #1 video game podcast in Hungary next.
Easy.
Can you imagine?
I know, I can't. That would be just a raging success. So, thank you to everybody who's tuned into the previous seasons. Very excited to bring you this season 3 premiere. For anyone listening who's not familiar with you, SpookyLoopz, would you mind introducing yourself and talking about what you do?
Yeah, so I'm a DVD streamer and creator for YouTube as well, and been in the game for about 3.5 years now, and yeah, it's DVD is my life now. Apparently, it's where we are.
And what a life it is.
What a life it is. Yeah.
Yeah, no complaints. Right,
No
Gary?
complaints at
No
all.
complaints?
Well, sorry, I had an audio issue. I just fixed it.
Oh, I was just, because you complain all the time. I was just.
Oh, I never complain. What are you talking about?
On behalf of Gary, we're really sorry, Romania.
Yeah, honestly. Well, so I think one of the biggest pieces of news in DBD recently has been the hacking situation, which has been getting progressively worse. It's always kind of been there, but it's been getting progressively worse, especially lately. Have you guys? What experiences have you guys had with that? I know Spooky's talked in a video recently showcasing exactly what you deal with on a daily basis,
Right.
streaming the game.
Right.
I've always been pretty lucky not to have to deal with too many hackers, but I will say since 6.1.0, I've noticed a lot more survivors hacking. Like,
Yeah.
ever since Dead Hard got nerfed, there's got to be a group of people that just like don't care anymore. I keep getting them now every now and again. Like usually at the start of my streams, actually, I had one the other day where it was like got 2 killers, that old chestnut, or even when I'm playing Killer now, I keep getting survivors that like changing their cosmetics throughout the game. They're flying around. That's a new one. Yeah, I'm definitely seeing an uptick on my end.
I think that there's probably correlation between like dissatisfaction with the game state and also just the fact that some of these like companies or whoever is putting these hacks out, like they're realizing that this is like a chance to earn like a lot of money, I think.
Right.
Because I've been playing the game since 2016. Like hackers have been around since the beginning. Like I had hackers in 2016 and 2017, but it was so rare. It was really infrequent. And then nowadays, like within the last year, it's just been just a constant thing. And especially obviously in this current, like within the last few months, this has been absolutely unreal. And you guys saw the stats they put out. They've banned 200,000 hackers since the start of the game, right? But only and 50,000 in the last year. So, I mean, 150,000 hackers were banned in the years prior, but you would see a hacker once every few months. So I don't know. You like that to me. That like if you look at that and you think about how does that correlate to like how many hackers are out there now? If they've only gotten 50,000 in the last year, it's a rough number.
Well, I think also they said that they banned 2,000 just in the last week, right?
Yeah.
It's probably all
That's
the Epic
scary.
Store stuff, to be honest. I don't know. It's for me personally, it's I haven't been around the game as long as Doug or some of you gentlemen, but it's gotten to the point recently where last couple of months it seems just like DBD is losing control of the security of their own game, and if they can't control it, then how what are we supposed to do? You know what I mean? Especially like because I rely on this game for my income. You know what I mean? And if it's got to the point where like imagine you work at a whatever job and you have no way to do your job because, the power keeps going out or whatever the case may be. Like, that's the best analogy I can put it, because it's every single stream that I do. I've even attempted offline stuff in the last couple of weeks. I've just been pulling stuff off of Twitch because I'm afraid that, going and playing offline, I'm just going to get attacked that way as well too.
Right.
And it's really, really frustrating. It's every stream, and I only stream 4 days a week. It's every stream I run into something, and even if it's not like, for instance, like maybe I have a good session, like Doug was saying, like you play, like okay, I didn't get a cheater or I didn't play, whatever. It's still the ultimate feeling of paranoia and you questioning every single thing that's happening, as far as, oh wow, did that look fishy? Like what's going on? Da 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 da, stuff like that, because it's so frequent now that.
Right.
It's just not. You're always on guard. It's not. It's supposed to be a casual, fun game, and it's kind of the point where like it's not. It's getting.
No.
Personally,
I echo that feeling too, because like I've been taken pride over the last few years of being a person who doesn't make accusations. I used to poke fun at people because they're constantly, must have been a stream sniper, must have been a hacker.
Right.
Like, you can't avoid. You can't avoid it now. Like every single time anything is even moderately sus. Like, for literally, if you see a person in your lobby using incognito mode, using streamer mode, automatically the hacker alarm is going off in your brain. You can't help it.
Oh, actually, funny you mentioned that. Yesterday, when I was playing, I had a weird game where I was playing Ghostface and I had marked somebody and downed them relatively fast, and as soon as I hit them, I went to like 5 FPS in the game, which was super weird. So I don't know if that was like a DVD related thing, but I have an i9 and a 3080. My computer can run this shitty game. Like, there's no reason why
right.
why my frame should be in the shitter there. But that was really bizarre. So I ended up having to disconnect from the game. I had a 5-minute cooldown. Then came back, and like maybe an hour later, I saw a Nancy Wheeler that was incognito mode, right? So I was like, okay, well, no, I'm gonna dodge it. I just don't trust it anymore. It's gotten to the point where I just dodge all of them now. So I dodge it, and immediately the next game, I see an ace that's incognito mode. I'm talking like 2 minutes in between the two lobbies, and so I'm like, all right, I'll take it, whatever. So I take the match, and of course, 5 minutes into the game, I get head-on stunned, and I'm locked in stun animation for 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And come to find out, the cheater that was in there, he let me off the hook relatively easy. He kind of, after 20 minutes of game time, he just left. He just instantly just like teleported out of the gate and he was gone. In the end game chat, he tells me I was the Nancy, by the way. So it's the same. It was the same person, and it's like it's a joke, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I know I'm on this podcast where I'll talk about happy things DVD, but like I'm just not in the head state or the mind state to like think positively, and like it's so hard for me to look forward to cool things that are happening in the game when I can't enjoy it currently now. And that's
well, it's a perpetual fear that everyone's been in. Like, I know everyone's having to basically play on a VPN at this point because of the security leak of everyone's IP addresses being able to be claimed through the game, which they've still not really addressed in any way or form. Like, I know you had a nightmare of a time with that, John.
Yeah, I've been on a VPN constantly since I first got DDoS last November. I have never turned it off except like when I'm just like doing offline things, right? I've had it online every stream, no matter if I'm playing DBD or not, because it's gotten me so paranoid about it. And they've never said anything about, they've never acknowledged it or said if they have any plan for it. And even now, with the hacking, we'll talk about this more in detail later, but the roadmap that they have for hacking, they didn't mention anything about the security vulnerability for DDoSing. So I guess I'll just have it on permanently forever.
Yeah, did they make a statement previously when that first happened, when that vulnerability wasn't
there like an article? There was an article.
Yeah,
or something.
they literally,
right,
but they didn't actually make a statement like on behalf of behavior. The article talked about the security leak. Like, it was like 3 shades away. It was definitely not an actual like personal address. It was like a Game Rants article or something.
Game Rant.
I'm just throwing a name out, but it was just some random article that they kind of casually mentioned it. But yeah, I don't think anybody can blame you, honestly. Like, with it's hard for any creator, big or small at this point. And again, it's magnified for someone like you, Spooky. Like you have
Right.
a large audience, right? And these guys are using you to advertise their bullshit. So
Correct.
Yeah.
you're gonna be getting hammered. And guys that are smaller like myself, I still deal with it. I still get it.
Right.
I take a different approach. I just DC from the game, and I've got a real I mean, it's a real negative attitude, but I'm just like, I'll just go play another fucking game. I'm not gonna deal with this stuff, dude. Like if these
Right.
guys start trying to interrupt me, I'm just gonna go play something else because like I can't be bothered. And I understand your perspective of not giving into the tactics, and I just
Well,
it's just hard.
Go ahead. I'm
No,
sorry.
please. It's just hard to have a positive outlook. And you go live and it's like you just know it's gonna happen. I haven't had a stream. I haven't had a stream without a hacker since the thing started up here in the last few weeks. Like it's gonna happen no matter what. It's just a matter of when, and it's really frustrating as a creator. And again, all of our livelihoods are on the line here. Every one of us relies on Dead by Daylight for our income.
Correct.
So
The scary thing as well is I think since everyone's having to kind of pull attention to it, it's only going to flame the fan the flames of these hackers to like be worse. It's going to draw more attention to them as well. So like behavior really need to pull their finger out a little bit.
There's that little.
That's putting it lightly.
Pull their finger out.
I know.
Spotify listeners, we were all shocked at what Gary just said.
I cannot believe you said that, Gary. We're just gonna overlook it for now.
Like speaking like as far as like the roadmap that they came out with the like the cheater solution and stuff like that, like a lot of that is not scheduled to happen for many months. So it's like how long do you hold on, is
Yeah, like, and it's kind of vague in places as well. Like additional fail safes. What does that mean?
Well,
early 2023 improved support tools. Does that mean that we'll get to report hackers a bit easier?
To be fair, like there is to be the devil's advocate, they kind of can't really be too transparent about what they're doing because then the hackers are getting a head start.
I get that. Yeah, I get that.
I get that too.
I was more. I mean, like there was now giving them the benefit of the doubt. There was a section because for me personally, what is happening is, when the cheaters come in, they run around, blah blah blah. So what I try to do personally is I just kind of try to take them off screen so they can at least get any type of attention that they're looking for. But then what ends up happening is like the total server collapse time is 2 hours from the start of the trial to the end, and that's even after endgame collapse is concluded, right?
Yeah.
So the doors open, whatever, they're still in the game. They're telling the server that the game, like they're still the match is still on, so there's no reason for it to close, right? And it's 2 hours. So what I've been doing, obviously, is been trying to make the best use of my time. Is putting up a different screen and watching YouTube videos with chat and stuff like that. But I literally can't do anything in the game. And what's interesting is they said in the roadmap when it comes to the cheating stuff was they were saying oh, we're going to make it so that the end game, the server collapses only after an hour of total playtime or less. It's like, why is it even or less? Why is it not collapsing immediately, a couple minutes after that's done? After total playtime, what's your average DBD match? 12, 15 minutes, 20 minutes in extreme cases.
Yeah.
So why is there so much of a window that doesn't need to be there? You know what I'm saying? Like, if anything, the server should collapse after 25 to 30 minutes anyway, just to save the sanity of the people. Because obviously you have people that are hiding in the game and stuff like that. And it's just not fun for, the killer or whatever the case may be. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. If they come out and they say, hey, what we're going to do is if the exit gates are open, the in-game collapse the server's going to shut down in 5 minutes. Great. Or a total playtime, 30 minutes. I'll even take 30. Because then I know at absolute worst case scenario, I can deal with the fuckery for 30 minutes and then I can just go and play a different game or play another match afterwards.
Yeah.
And I think that takes a lot of the power away from the cheaters because right now they know that they have behavior by the balls and all of us, quite frankly, because there's nothing that we can do about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
to talk about what you were talking about with the roadmap, I pulled it up. So, I mean, they got player sniping prevention and additional fail-safes, targeting fall 2022. It's fall 2022 now. We need that stuff now. And that can go all the way to the end of the year, right? And I think that honestly, the player sniping prevention from a content creator standpoint is the number one thing right now. Because the fact that they can you told your story about Nancy into Ace, right? That person placed themselves in your lobby. They didn't just get lucky.
No.
You know, the queues are long. They're not just lucking in. They're placing themselves in your lobby.
If I say the player sniping thing though, that's what they think they've done that, don't they? Isn't that what streamer mode
They
is?
don't. Well, if they think that they did that, yesterday is proof that they did not. I was watching Tony's stream. They did, they did not.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's worked, but I think that's what they're referring to is streamer mode.
I don't know, because I think on the roadmap they say what's live is various vulnerabilities. So what's live now is that they've fixed various vulnerabilities, and then this fall they think that they're going to be able to handle the player sniping with additional.
How? But
like,
they're able to plug right into our lobby. So how are they like by? You know what I think they're doing, honestly, Doug? I think what they're doing is they want to have their foot in one door and be like saying like, hey, we've already been actively working on the problem. By the way, for fall, we've done, this matchmaking delay thing, but that already came out. You know what I'm saying? And maybe I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if they're just carrying that on, carrying it over for what they've already done, just to kind of save a little face. Like, yeah, we've already implemented things to try to help you with that. When in reality, like these devs know, if they're taking the cheater shit seriously, they know that delaying your match is not. They're getting they have our cloud IDs, they have all that shit. They can just go right in.
Yeah.
I needed my cloud ID for something the other day. I just pulled up that hacker list you have, Tony. I didn't even bother going into Steam. I was like, I got it right here because the hackers have it. I'll just get it from them.
Right.
Perfect. But yeah, so that needs to happen like ASAP. And then again, like for me, when I saw that, the first thing that came to mind, I mean, it's a negative thing, but I was like, so this could last till December then, because fall 2022 is
right.
It's a long period of time, and like if they can insert themselves in our lobbies for the next 4 months, 3 months, like.
Right.
That's not gonna work.
I'd like them to introduce us to their anti-cheat team, because I don't know if Behavior has one.
It's a guy named Kevin.
I don't think the anti-cheat team wants to meet us though.
I just need to know they exist, because that's the thing.
Yeah, right.
Like, because the way DVD's built, they use easy anti-cheat, which is mostly used for first-person shooter games or just shooter games generally, which is great at catching auto aim and auto bots and stuff like that. But I don't think it's particularly good. DBD's a very variable-heavy game, where it's just you pass true and false booleans back and forth, or speed numbers.
I think that's exactly what I was going to say, Gary.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing too.
Yeah. So I think that's the way the game's getting hacked, and I don't think easy anti-cheat's doing shit about that. I don't think it does. I don't think it's protecting DVD at all.
Right.
I think it's there just to be like, we've got something to make people think that they're safe.
Mm-hmm.
And they need a dedicated anti-cheat team, like protecting the code from anyone sending misinformation between the server.
But again, to play the devil's advocate, we don't know what they're doing behind the scenes. Perhaps they're already ramping that kind of stuff up. I mean, I don't know. I think they felt a lot of pressure because the community is really starting to push back. Larger creators are starting to create videos. People are really starting to reach the end of their limit with the hacker problems. So hopefully it's more than just a graphical roadmap and some, glad handing and okay, we're working on it. Good luck, good luck out there, guys.
It would take a proper anti-cheat team like months to get up to scratch to protect the game.
Yeah, and I mean,
that's assuming it's coded like well.
If they just started that process, at least they're on on that path. So right, like hopefully we start seeing some returns with our individual and a vacuum experiences, because right now it's like, I think that I've heard it said fairly that the game is in the worst state it's ever been since the game launched, because it's just so difficult to be able to even get through a session without being held hostage for 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, and you would think that this would be like the highest priority with them, just because, I mean, it's affecting their biggest content creators. And Dead by Daylight is a game that has been built up through the years, largely through the work of streamers and YouTubers playing their game. Because I remember being around when it was in beta, and I just played with my friends. I didn't play public matches or anything. But, it was huge on YouTube at the time. Like, all the multiplayer YouTubers were playing it, and that's kind of how it got its start. And that's how it's perpetuated over the years. So you would think that this would be like a huge priority for them to fix this ASAP. Because if people can't play their game, I mean, everybody's got their breaking point, and eventually, it's like it's not going to be worth it anymore to be stuck in these 2-hour matches, or even 1-hour matches, or 5 minutes past the endgame collapse. If that happens every time and you're not really able to get a real game, like how long are you going to put up with that before you're like, you know what, let's check out another ASIM. Let's check out what's VHS all about, or something like that.
Yeah.
And you go to one of the competitors.
Right.
And there's so many more on the horizon coming out that
Texas Chainsaw.
Behavior should be a little nervous on it, I think.
I think so too. Yeah, this is probably the most competition they've ever had coming up this next year. Like, I mean, Evil Dead and VHS aren't rivaling it at the moment, but they're there. They're not dead games. They're still going, and Texas Chainsaw,
Home Sweet Home
Killer
Survive.
Clan.
Let's not forget Home Sweet Home Survive.
Right, Home Sweet Home Survive is still kicking for sure, and
I
who
don't wanna
knows,
keep-
it could get a second wind.
I don't want to keep coming back to it, but maybe is there maybe correlation between Romania and Home Sweet Home Survive as well? Like maybe we we found a market.
I hated that fucking game. So
Yeah, I know you did. I know you did. I love moving
I
it
did
out.
too. No, we actually revisited Home Sweet Home Survive last week for the podcast because we were like, what's it like now? Like, people are still playing this game. What's going on? They've added tons of characters and they've made tons of balance changes. And actually, I mean, we only played it for about an hour and a half, but we had some fun, actually. It wasn't bad.
I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was not nearly as horrible because I'm right there with you. I legitimately rage quit that game one stream. I was just like, I can't do this anymore. It sucks. The game sucks. It's not perfect still, but they have made improvements, which is good to hear. Yeah.
But I don't disagree. There's a vast landscape right now. Horror Asym is kind of having like a revolution, and at least in the like market of like games are coming out. Like maybe not breaking the mold, but games are coming out. Texas Chainsaw does seem like, based on the way Wes is talking about it, based on the way that their social media team is talking, like they're really confident in their ability to be providing something that innovates and really like kind of breaks the mold for.
And I think I'm very excited for that game. I'm very excited.
Oh,
we say this every season. Very excited about Texas Chainsaw. Well, they actually came out with some gameplay the other day.
I saw it.
It looks really solid. It looks really fun, especially to play. I mean, Gary, we've talked about this before, but playing Leatherface's little lackeys is going to be so much fun. When I saw the hitchhiker like crawl through a vent, I was just like, oh, that's going to be sick, dude. It's gonna be awesome. We get to be like little Victor for Charlotte. We get to be her little helper.
Dog, you're gonna have two Victors.
I cannot wait.
Two Eagles.
Master.
Couldn't
pick two better Victors. Let me tell you.
When I saw the cook and the hitchhiker actually like slashing survivors up, I was like, oh, they get to hurt them too? Because I thought it was just gonna be like, we'll hold them for you here, Leatherface.
Yeah.
No. It seems like a really deep concept. Like the game seems really deep just from what I saw, and like I don't know. I'm so cautiously optimistic because I don't want to get my hopes up and be let down, but like every time they like have a little reveal, it gets like better and better and more exciting. So
I think playing Survivor looks really exciting as well, to say the other side as well.
Yeah. And with Wes Keltner at the helm and with it being Gun Media, and I don't know what all your individual experiences were with Friday the 13th, but I honestly think if they hadn't lost the license, I don't know if you guys know this, but that game was in development without a license previously. It was called like because the actual game file for the game is called like Summer Camp something.
Yes.
It's like I don't recall the exact name, but it was literally an unlicensed asym slasher game. And then like at the 11th hour, they pulled the F-13 license and then they threw it on top of it, launched the game. Almost immediately lost the license. If that game holds the license or launches without the license, that game is huge right now. I guarantee it. I played the game still. They made Twitch partners in Friday the 13th the game last year. People that main Friday the 13th the game got partnered on Twitch last year. That game has not had a content update since 2017.
True.
And the game is still kicking now. And that's like, you basically got a demo of a game, lost the game, and it still has a passionate, excited player base.
Yeah,
it was an incredible game. It's still one of my all-time favorite games ever, right?
Yeah.
So that team and the person who is in charge of that game is who's at the helm of Texas Chainsaw, which to me tells me, hopefully they've learned their lessons with working with game licenses and with big licenses in a game, right?
Well,
I'm hoping they protected themselves a little bit better.
Well, what I was reading is that actually, because one of my concerns with Texas Chainsaw was similar to my concerns with Evil Dead, is like, how much content are we going to get out of this? Like, for it to be a long-term DVD competitor. And I read that Texas Chainsaw, they have full, like, permission and freedom to create original characters, original survivors, and original killers.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
Confirm that they can create new canon in the Texas Chainsaw universe. So
that's gonna be.
That's awesome.
Because a lot of times these games come out and they're around for a while, they fizzle and fade, and a lot of it's due to, they just don't have a whole lot of room to expand the universe.
Yeah, no, to me personally, I just can't wait for the Texas Chainsaw in Space chapter. Right?
Exactly.
What if they did?
Yeah, Leatherface X.
That's where Friday the 13th could have gone. Jason X would have been a great.
That was the last chapter.
That was.
Yeah, they literally had it done, Gary. Okay, so I don't want to let them all the way off the hook because I have some complaints about the way F-13 was handled. But they got notified that they lost the license, and they had the Jason X chapter was like basically done. And we know this because hackers were able to access it and like pull it into the game. And so I actually did end up playing against Jason X a few times because of the hacking situation. But what they did rather than
part of the problem. We're discussing right now.
I might be canceled after this episode runs, but I'm gonna tell my truth, guys. All right. But no. What they did is instead of shoving out the new content ASAP and then being able to work on it, they like completely redesigned and released a new engine in the game. So they gave it like a huge graphical overhaul, and then they got their stop production and they weren't able to actually give us the Jason X chapter. So
that's
huge flop. Huge flop.
Yeah.
See, I didn't love Friday the 13th, but I didn't get to play it during its heyday. I played it
you played it
after it. Yeah, and at that point it was just people playing obnoxious music down the microphones, and the way matchmaking was in that game was a disaster, where your friend would be playing as Jason, and it's like, oh, now I've got to go against them whilst these randoms are running around. Like, it's a conflict of interest that happened too often. Basically, I got ratted out a lot by other survivors because they were on the...
He's in the cabin over there.
That's the exact example I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
He's in the cabin to the left of me. I'm sitting going, I can hear them to the right of me. That's a problem.
Yeah, right.
That was of course in the honor system back then, but I didn't realize in the early stages that kind of stuff really wasn't too much of an issue. I want to pause that though and at least put a little sticky post-it note on that, because that's something I just found out about Killer Clown's game that's coming out. They're going to have the same style of matchmaking. You're not going to be able to queue up as Clown or Teen. You're going to have to queue up with everybody, and then it's just going to randomly assign which side you play. That's
potentially fine if it's, because we were talking last week about how we kind of hope that's maybe it's the casual one. Like it doesn't try to be all competitive, and it's just kind of like quite chill about it. Like,
yeah, that's going to happen.
Maybe that leans into that direction.
That's super going to happen in 2022. No one's going to take the game seriously.
Well, that's me being very hopeful, but I don't like that matchmaking system. I want to play with my friends as like the clowns.
Well, and nobody will. And what I've been talking about with somebody that I've been speaking about the game with a lot is like the devs that are saying the reason they're doing that is they don't want matchmaking to take too long. They don't want long queues because people are going to end up choosing to play one side or the other, and there's an imbalance and it's 3v7. They're worried about long queues basically. And so what's going to actually happen, which is what happened a lot in Friday the 13th in the early days, is people are going to queue up wanting to play Clown, and then when they get Survivor, they're just going to DC and wait for the next one. Or they're just going to throw. They're just going to throw because they're going to throw a temper tantrum. I mean, they get what they want.
In our brief experiences with Propnight, that's what happened. Is like people would queue up, they'd get Killer. They wouldn't want to play Killer. They'd DC. We'd get back in queue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Propnight. Did you ever play that one?
I played it for I played it a couple of times. Propnight has some of the most hardcore tunneling I've ever seen in my entire life, dude.
Yeah.
You thought DVD was bad? Holy shit, man! You're back right back on the chair, dude.
You have to. You didn't play it, man. You had to do it. Like the game balance was so bad, dude.
And to be honest, like survivors deserve it in that game if they were anything like me.
Oh, seriously.
Bonking and farting on them every time. I was like, yeah, I get tunneled for this.
Yeah, maybe we can bring Tony back on for the prop night. We'll eventually do a prop night episode. So I don't care.
We're waiting for like the return of it because they're like giving it the graphical overhaul.
Oh, they're doing a reboot of the game. Yeah. They're basically trying to make it
Prop Night Reborn.
A lot more like DBD.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're making it like all dark and atmospheric now, and like you can no longer. They're ruining it. They're ruining it. But
they're taking the good bit they had. Threw that away and have made like a shit version of DVD.
You can't hide as a prop anymore. Is all.
Pass. Oh, you can't.
There's literally within 12 meters. There's an aura now, so they can see which prop is you. So that's no longer a mechanic in the game.
So basically,
actually hiding
the entire original concept of the game.
Yeah. I feel like the only reason they're holding on to props in the game is because it's in the fucking name. They're like, well, we can't take props completely out because it's in the title, so we'll just make.
We gotta have the random watermelons and corn cobs strewn about just for no reason now.
No.
It's just environmental faff.
No. Anyways, the only reason I want to talk about it is because there is a reason why there was so much tunneling in that game, but we don't need to go down the Propnight rabbit trail now because that's a future seasons episode.
We don't need to talk about dead games. We do that enough already. Dead ASIMs. There's too many of them. It's a graveyard.
Speaking of dead games, and not dead games, but I think that's a good segue into something that I did want to talk about today, is VHS. And this morning, John and I were having a conversation about VHS, and John, I noticed that there actually were more concurrent players on a Sunday morning playing Home Sweet Home Survive than there were playing VHS.
Yikes, dude.
Is that correct?
What?
That is
the numbers?
correct.
The
Yeah.
numbers
Hang on.
were.
So we've brought Home Sweet Home back.
I mean, that's one way to look at it.
I mean, we
That's one way to
played it
look at
last
We have
week and we did
saved
talk
that
about
game.
it in the season 2 finale. So, yeah.
Where are the players? Are they in Romania?
Gotta be. But no, to me that's a real concerning. That's concerning, right?
Yeah.
I know VHS is in early access, and you guys know I love VHS. This isn't my attempt
You're
to
the number
smear
one Death
VHS at all.
Wire.
I
Yeah,
wouldn't say
Doug
number
loves
one,
talking
but
about VHS. His face brightens up every time it's brought up.
It's true. I love the game. I'm passionate about the game. I think that the game still has a bright future, irrespective of how damning the numbers are right now. But yeah, that's bad. That's a bad sign when your game, even in early access, it's one that's been taken seriously. It has a large and robust creator program. It had a period of time where it was fairly decently sized on Twitch. There were quite a few,
for a while.
quite a few people watching VHS and passionate about VHS.
Because nobody could play it. That's why.
That's
Yeah.
Nobody could play it, right?
Yeah, we've talked about in previous seasons.
Disastrous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've only played it once, and that's me. But I think VHS personally has already seen its peak in hype.
I think so too.
Many moons ago. I think you're playing.
You guys don't think it's coming back? You don't think it's coming back?
Fuck no, dude. No way. Wow. No way.
Wow.
I
No
think
way.
it could, but it would require
Something
very
huge,
careful
right?
planning and for them to bring out like something
I
interesting.
unfortunately, I think the original launch was so bad that it's like just left
Right.
a bad taste in people's mouths.
Well, I mean, I've talked about this before, but my experience with the VHS beta was like, I want to play it, and then I was like I asked for a code, I waited, I signed up for it with the email, I never got one. Months passed and months, and then I just saw the player count dwindling, and I was like, well, I'm less interested now, and I just never got access. And then the game released in early access, and I was like, okay, well, I mean, now if I go in and I play, I'm going to be going against these juicers with hundreds and hundreds of hours. I mean, it just doesn't seem worth it to me. I think a lot of people were in the same boat of just like they wanted to play it, but they couldn't, and then it just went on and on and on, and they've kind of forgot about it.
So anyone can play it right now, right? Like anybody.
Yes.
can.
100%. Free on Steam, free on Epic Games.
So
It's free.
So
Yeah.
where's everyone at? That's the question. Where's
I
why?
mean-
You know what I mean?
I'm an apologist. But I will say that as of right now, Hellbent is kind of treating this period of time of early access like an extended beta and really trying to fine tune some stuff. So they're really not hard advertising it or really like hard pushing it at this time. So I think that they're trying to get more of a polished product before they really go all in on trying to get a lot of casual players into the game. Could be wrong. That's my armchair assessment.
The trouble is, like, they want the Dead by Daylight community to like jump on and be like, "Oh my god, new game, new competitor," but
Nope.
they've already squandered that by making it such a lukewarm release. Like now it's just kind of there, but when they go and it's fully released, we're going to go, I don't care.
I think part of the issue too is that correct me if I'm wrong, it's only available on PC at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So if they do a console launch and they really push that out, they could get people that way because it is a free
Sure.
game. That is like a plus that it has. Because a lot of these
Yeah.
ASIMs come out and they're like, it's $10, and you're like, I'm not going to pay $10 to try out a game that has no player base. But at least it's free. If
Right.
it comes out on console, it could reach a new audience that way.
I guess I'm looking right now on Twitch. Like it's a Sunday afternoon. The the biggest streamer that's playing the game is 65 concurrent viewers playing VHS right now. 199 viewers in total in the entire game category.
Yeah. Another number I checked earlier is that Evil Dead actually had more Twitch viewers this morning than VHS did. And Evil Dead's kind of like notoriously dead on Twitch. Like the game's still alive. It's very healthy in terms of like the player base is good. The YouTube content does well in Evil Dead. So like there are people that care about Evil Dead out there.
Yeah.
But it's not performing well on Twitch in any capacity. I've noticed when I play it on Twitch, it's not really making people very excited. But
sorry, Doug, you're cutting in and out on the video feed.
Oh, is my Comcast situation?
I think
it seems like you're
now.
back now.
Yeah, I think
it
you're
seems like
fine
you're
now.
back now. Yeah, but
well, all I was trying to get at is that Evil Dead has really kind of not kept any steam on Twitch, and still this morning they had more concurrent viewers than VHS did.
Yeah.
So
VHS
is kind of bringing up the rear as of right now when it comes to.
I also for VHS, I always still worry that it's so well balanced that it feels competitive. Like it's a very competitive game. You have to focus.
Game, yeah.
I think it might push away casual players. There's no survivors just sitting on gens in that game. You are when you're playing Survivor or Killer, you are playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe not a bad thing though.
People, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a different audience. But
if it absorbs a lot of the competitive DBD community, that might not be a bad thing for either game.
Tony, when you played,
the difficulty though is VHS is harder.
Did you play Survivor or Killer or both?
I played both. The teen or whatever was much more enjoyable than playing the Killer stuff was. I was just that was the thing too, is because I was given a beta key by someone in my community because I wanted to try it. So she didn't want to use it, so I plugged it in. This is maybe like a month after beta keys have been rolling out, and so like I wasn't like too late in the game, but I went in there and like it was just absolutely stomped. It was just that was kind of the same experience I had with Home Sweet Home Survive. Was if you go up against people that kind of know what they're doing, like there's no real learning curve. You're kind of thrown into the mixer as soon as you go in, and it's very like deterring from someone that's new to that game, And imagine like someone that comes in that doesn't know, well, this game looks cool, let's check it out, and they get absolutely shit on, they're gonna go, okay, well, that was fun. I'm never gonna touch that again. I gotta touch it again.
Yeah,
but for me personally, it was just consistent. I know there's strategy to it. I know that if I probably gave it more time, I'd probably find it more enjoyable. But my brief experiences with it was it was literally just like getting stun locked after stun locked after stun locked.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm dead. Respawn, stun lock, I'm dead. Okay. Like
and Gary kind of touched on it just really briefly in a side comment. Like it's a hard game, and it took me 100 hours of VHS before I started feeling like I knew what I was before I started feeling like I was good, like before I feel like I could win every game that I went into. Like it took me 100 hours of playing Monster, and the only reason I was able to do that is because I do this for a living. Like I stream, I make content, right? So I was able to do that while I was able to learn the game while I was at work. But like most people that are casual gamers aren't able to do that. So the guy that gets off work, gets home, has like 2 hours to chill and game before bed, right? And his wife wants to watch the new House of Dragon show or whatever, right? And she's like, hurry up, honey. He's like, I gotta get some games in. So he was at work all day. He was getting yelled at by his boss. Got stuck in traffic on the way home. He sits down, finally some VHS, and then just gets absolutely dunked on for 2 hours.
And then his boss's words are ringing in his mind. You'll never amount to anything.
As he's getting stun locked for days by these guys who played 2,000 hours in the closed beta, and he's just like, oh my god. So it's that may be something that really needs to be looked at if they ever want a chance to come out of this hole they're in, is that the new player experience needs to be improved. Because I hear what you said, Tony, from basically everybody that I talked to that dislikes it, that tried it. They're like, I tried it, I got shit on for 2 hours, and I never played it again.
I just feel like for VHS in particular is going to be one of those. I think like DB that kind of just like came out at the right time, and it's kind of they got a really really like reputable license like super early on, and they kind of just been rolling with that momentum and rolling out big chapters and stuff like that. That's what gets the audience, and that's what brings different people in like into the game. I don't see VHS having anything like that, or any original content that can come out that could essentially rejuvenate that same excitement that happened before pre-beta rollout keys and stuff like that. So that's just me personally.
You're not wrong, man. They landed Michael Myers like 3 months after the game came out.
Right.
No, I remember when that happened.
It was the October after it launched, and so that was and you guys see what the Steam charts numbers do every time they release like a licensed chapter. I mean, the Resident Evil chapter
was the
the original one blew the game up.
Yeah.
And then after this last Resident Evil chapter, all we saw was Wesker's. You know, like those chapters perform so well, and they bring in so many new players. It's like you said. I mean, how is VHS going to be able to pull off a big license while they're barely afloat in early access? Or?
You know, I went to like an event this week where other content creators were there, and I was talking with one of them that casually played DBD, and I asked him like, what are your favorite characters to play? And he was like, I love playing Cheryl Mason, and I was like, okay, Silent Hill. He was like, I love playing Leon Kennedy, and I was like, okay, Resident Evil. He's like, and for Killer, I love playing Pyramid Head, and I was like, okay, so 3 licensed characters, you know, like a lot of the casual players of the game aren't being like, ooh, I just love playing Adam. I just love him. He's so much fun. He's my favorite character. I mean, there are out there, but it's mostly people that are attracted from the licensed characters.
Yeah.
So definitely,
and it brings them in, doesn't it? It brings casuals in to be like, oh, you know, I want to play a game where I get to run around as Wesker killing people. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I comment on that all the time. Like I'm playing as Albert Wesker chasing Nancy from Stranger Things on, you know, Badham Preschool from Nightmare on Elm Street. Like it's pretty cool to take all those licenses and jam them together, like horror nerd fantasy stuff. But
every time I'm playing as like Leon or something and I get Midwich, I'm like, this feels so weird. Like it just reminds you of how crazy this game is.
And I think to bring it back to what we were talking about with the new player experience with like VHS and these games where it's like getting thrown into some cold water, just like, oh shit, this is what the game is like. I think DBD has a benefit of, you know, at least with Survivor, there's a lot of downtime. You get to like look around and be like, oh my God, it's Jill Valentine from Resident Evil. She's right there. Yeah. Sweet. Yeah. Oh my God, we're on Midwich Elementary. And you get to kind of, even if you don't know what you're doing, you can treat the game as kind of a hide and seek game. Where it's just like, I don't really know what to do. I can't loop. I don't understand the killer's powers, so I'm just going to hide. And that's kind of a fun little way that you can enjoy the game even when you're not good at it. And I think that's something that a lot of these ASIMs also need to have.
Also, like, to add to that, DBD has such a simple core objective. Like, as Survivor, which most people, when you first play DBD, you go with Survivor first because Killer looks terrifying.
Right.
And it's just, you just sit on a generator. You haven't got to do anything skillful except like the skill checks. Like that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, there is definitely beauty in the simplicity of the formula. Absolutely. Yes. It's very, very over the years I've taught so many brand new players how to play DBD, and it's just a very simple A, B, C, you know, get the gens and get out. That's all you gotta do.
Yeah.
You know, and then there are different ways to reach that goal. But yeah, it's again, I've tried to show people how to play VHS, and that feels a little cumbersome.
This is a lot to, I mean, I've played it a few hours, but I'm terrible at it. And you know, when I hop into solo queue, I just die as Survivor. And when I play Monster, I just get shit on.
Yeah.
It's a big learning curve.
Yeah. And the thing about it is that's not inherently a bad thing, but the problem is like, how do you convince a lot of people to suffer through that to get to the point where it becomes enjoyable?
Yeah. And that's an advantage that DBD has with the licenses, or what Texas Chainsaw will also have is like, you know, what motivation are you going to have to be like, I want to be the best at Wart, bro. Like, I love Wart. You're going to be much more likely to be like, I want to be a badass Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw. Like, I love Bubba. He's my favorite movie character of all time. And this is great. I get to be him in a game.
You're just speaking my inner monologue right now, John.
Hey, I like playing Bubba, too. Bubba's fun.
My favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've touched a little on DVD. We got more to talk about in DVD. I can't think we got off on a tangent, but do we want to go back to that before we talk about Evil Dead, or do we want to save the DVD stuff for like the finale?
We could talk a little bit about DVD, Evil Dead, and then go back into DVD.
Because Evil Dead, we've been kind of we've been so enamored with Home Sweet Home. Do you have something, John? Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I don't think we're gonna have a whole lot of opinions to give on Evil Dead, but maybe
I got a lot to say, John.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't mean to speak for you, Doug.
No, I'm just talking shit. But no, well, I was just gonna say we've become so enamored with Home Sweet Home Survive that we've kind of sloughed off on talking about Evil Dead. Had a major content patch come out within the last few weeks too. So
that's true. I don't think we even talked about it in the season 2 finale.
I feel like season 2 finale, it might have gotten completely left out, and then the season 1 finale, I think we kind of casually mentioned that the chapter came out and that we played the new character, but We didn't really talk about it a lot, but
I sincerely apologize to our Romanian Evil Dead fans. So sorry. We won't let you down again.
But yeah, so Evil Dead, it's called patch 2013, which confuses the hell out of me when I look at YouTube videos because I think it's from like 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's a really weird brand for a patch.
Yeah. But they released the new chapter with the new demon, the Plague Bringer, and then new survivors, David and Mia from the Evil Dead, which now I just made the connection in my head. This is how dumb I am. That's because it was from Evil Dead 2013. That's those characters that they pulled out. It was from the Evil Dead 2013 reboot. That's why they called it the 2013 patch.
Oh, okay.
It's still bad branding though.
Huge revelation here. But yeah, so we got David and Mia, we got the Plague Bringer. I finally did get a chance this week to play a good amount of Evil Dead. I got my Plague Bringer up to like in the mid-20s now, level-wise. And I did play as David and Mia on Survivor's side. But the whole thing that kind of spurred me into getting interested in playing Evil Dead a little bit more is that there was some drama in the Evil Dead community over this most recent chapter.
Do tell.
The chapter launched, and they made a lot of like huge changes to the way that the gameplay works. Basically, what they did with the recent DVD patch, they kind of tuned Demon up a lot.
Yeah.
From a balance perspective, like Demon was already feeling to me, and I don't know, Gary, you play a decent amount of Demon as well. But prior to the 2013 patch, Demon felt pretty good to me.
Yeah, I felt strong. I won most of my games.
Yeah, I felt competitive in most of the games I played. You'd always get the 4-mans.
Yeah,
that would just absolutely
that's every game.
Annihilate you. But I mean, there's not a player base really for an MMR in Evil Dead. I don't think so. I don't think there's any sort of matchmaking. I think they just
you just get who you get.
No. But for whatever reason, they went really hard on ramping up Demon. So now Demon feels very, very strong. And the Survivor community is understandably pushing back on that. And they're not very happy about the state of the game right now.
They've just lost their dead hard.
Yeah. From like a
terrific analogy, Gary. Thank you. Very succinct.
Excellent. But so the new monster, or the new demon, the Plague Bringer, is very strong. Probably amongst the strongest in the game. Although the Puppeteer now, who was the previous weakest demon, has now gotten like an omega buff to their damage. So now, like, apparently, and I haven't tested this individual or directly, but the Puppeteer is amongst the strongest demons in the game now. They like hit super hard. Their basic units hit super hard in early game. Their AoE is super strong. Their ability to win has now gone from very challenging to very easy mode. I guess a lot of the bad demons play Puppeteer now and get free wins. So basically, so we watched the videos.
When it first came out. To be honest, I think that was
Well, so from what I understand is do you have something, John, before I go off on a tangent?
Well, yeah, I just want to say, like, because we played a lot of Evil Dead when it first came out, Gary and I, and I remember thinking like the Puppeteer is the strongest one. It seems like. But that was, from our low-level perspective. But then I did watch some videos of recent opinions where it seemed like people seemed to acknowledge that Puppeteer was good in the beginning, but then was nerfed, and then recently rebuffed into being very strong again. Is that
So I think Puppeteer was like a pub stomper at first when people didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
And this is like the evolution of an ASIM, or an evolution of any game really, is when the game first starts, nobody knows what the fuck is going on. Everybody's running around and trying to figure things out. And this is the way, I mean, DVD launched without looping even being a thing. People figured out that looping was an effective way to play the game, and that totally changed the landscape of the game, right?
Yeah.
They figured out the looping exploit, guys. So, and that's kind of the way it happens with any of these games, is they come out and nobody really knows what's going on. So obviously the meta week 1, month 1, even year 1 can completely shift as people in the game start to innovate and figure out new ways to get to the end result that they want to get, which is obviously to win the game. So Puppeteer started off as a pub stomper. Nobody knew how to deal with the AoE. And then when they started to figure out that you could take the AoE out of the equation by doing finishing moves, they just were able to kind of nerf the effectiveness of the Puppeteer early game. And then by late game, they were just powerless because teams were strong, or survivors were strong. And we get so confused that they all have different names. Can we just call them all killers and survivors?
I mean, people know what that means. So
I agree. Yeah. I mean, I did that with VHS earlier. I was like, survivors and killers. Yeah.
There'll be someone in the comments.
Absolutely.
No, everyone knows what you mean, though. Everyone knows what you mean.
We're gonna get a new comp corner here out of this one, but
No.
no, I I think that Puppeteer now is really strong. Plaguebringer is really strong. Warlord, which was previously the meathead demon that was
That's
really
my
easy
favorite
to win
one.
with,
That's my
has
favorite
now
one.
it's been nerfed. Now they feel like the weakest monster or demon in the game.
That's so sad.
And then I don't know. I haven't really played a lot of the what is the skeleton one called again?
Necromancer?
Necromancer. Thank you. Necromancer. But Necromancer I think just kind of maintained where it was before. It's just kind of balanced. But so basically the what I get from the Evil Dead community is that the issue was that at higher levels of play with, competitive players, Demon really only had an option to win with the very last objective, which is the book. So they would basically they'd be able to win, but they would only be able to win in a binary way. Like you have to just play for the book at the end and then do enough damage to the book to get the win before the finals phase ends. And what they wanted was the ability to win the game earlier. And so now with the way that the buffs happened and the way that the chapter 2013 chapter happened, now it's too easy to win early. So basically, if you're good, if you're strong, you're going to always win unless you're going up against, that 4-man comp team.
Right.
And so naturally, community is not happy about that. And so we have a YouTube content creator named Sledge who created a video basically stating, this is the worst patch that we've ever had. And I mean, we've all watched the video, right?
We've watched it.
I don't think Tony's watched the video, but
That's okay.
No.
I know you're passionate about Evil Dead, Tony, and you're probably going to get to that one soon, but
Put it on the to-do list.
yeah. But for a brief synopsis, basically, Sledge is arguing that for the game to survive, casuals need to be able to win, solo queue players need to be able to win, and with the patch 2013, basically any even above average demon can just stomp basically anyone. And then there was a counter video created by Alucard, who is the #1 Twitch streamer for Evil Dead. He was recently partnered off Evil Dead. He plays demon only, where he kind of provided the counterpoint of, it's not fair for a player who is really good at the game and no life's the game and is playing at the highest level to lose to lesser players just to make it a more fun experience for casuals. Right? Does that seem like a fair assessment of the two videos to you guys?
Yeah, I would agree.
I'd
That's
say
kind
so.
of the point they were both kind of trying to say.
Right. And so where do we land on
What
the
is
discussion?
the Spine Chill podcast collaborative opinion on this?
Yeah, what are we
Gary,
landing on this discussion?
Would you like to offer your guess as to what our consensus opinion is?
I think both sides make a very good point against themselves in both of their videos, which they kind of make the point that Sledge doesn't play demon, sorry. They're a survivor main.
Yeah.
And Alucard does the exact same thing and makes it very clear that they are a killer main. They do not play survivor. So I don't really know how to take either of their opinions particularly seriously on it, because they don't really understand the other side. It's the entitled killer versus survivor main debacle that's in DBD. Like, if you don't play the other side, your opinion is not that great. But I will say that Sledge has probably the better point of you can't base a game around the top % of players. You have to do it around casual players, or else you might end up like in the VHS realm where it hasn't got a casual player base. It's all people that play it competitively. You need casual players. You need people just sitting on gens, hiding in corners occasionally, not knowing how to loot properly. You need them.
Right. Well, I think that's also one thing that is a plus for DBD that's a minus for a lot of other ASIMs like Evil Dead, is that like in DBD, when you have experience with a survivor or a killer, you gain access to new perks and new abilities and new tricks, right? But you're not like objectively stronger. Like you don't get more health, you don't hit harder, the more experience you have. But like in Evil Dead, that's literally how you level up. If you're a level 45 demon, your units are going to be just smacking like a truck. And it's going to be very frustrating for someone that's like a level 1 survivor and doesn't have like upgraded health pool or something to go against you.
Yeah.
And so I can definitely see it being more frustrating for a casual player. And I think that it's a totally reasonable take to think that they should balance more around the casual player base, because, like we've talked about, it's no fun to just be like, oh, well, let me try out this game, and you just get whomped right away. You don't feel like you don't feel like you stand a chance just because you haven't grinded the game yet.
Yeah, I would echo what Gary said. I think that it's really hard to take either of them at face value if Sledge is openly a survivor only player and Alucard is openly a demon only player, like obviously bias is everywhere, no matter what. We, as human nature is to be biased, but like the bias levels on the two arguments are reaching critical mass, right? Like they don't play the other side ever. So, it's hard for you to look at things objectively. I would argue that, and as I know Alucard personally, he maybe didn't articulate super well some of his perspective on the fact that you can balance the game around more casual players without things existing at the higher level that shouldn't. Because your casual players aren't going to know how to use some of the more advanced strats in the game. Like your casual players aren't going to be, if you look at it in DBD, your casual players aren't really, how many, Dead Hard recently got a big nerf, but like prior to the Dead Hard nerf, how many, and we all play DBD, we all play Killer on DBD, how many of just like the world's worst Dead Hards did you see?
Oh my God.
Loads of them.
Like,
it was my favorite thing.
It was so funny.
Dead Harding at the exit door and hitting the gate, like the side of it, rather than going that way.
Best.
Oh
man.
and that's a good example, right? Is like, against that dude, against 40-hour Andy, he doesn't use Dead Hard well anyway, so it doesn't matter if it gets nerfed. Like it doesn't hurt him at all, but it does help people who play at the higher level to not have the Dead Hard for distance dudes that can use that to chain into a 3 to 4 minute chase, right?
Yeah.
So, I think that's a good example of a game mechanic in DBD that they were able to nerf that, and it doesn't change the new player experience at all.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't hurt that. And I think that's more what Alucard is advocating for, is like balance changes and changes to the game that are going to ease the tension of playing at the highest level that really aren't going to affect your casual player base. And then I think Sledge is more of the mind that like he wants to see the game where like every team has the ability to beat every demon, which I don't think it maybe is healthy either way. Because like if somebody does invest a lot of time and energy and passion into playing the demon role, it stands to reason they should be able to win most of their games against new players, unorganized players, solo queue players, because if they're not, they're going to end up quitting the game.
Yeah.
If you play the game full time.
But the trouble is the game doesn't have MMR, so it has to figure that system.
Yeah.
As John was saying earlier, VHS has that problem where you can start playing it today and go against the number one killer, and then you have a very miserable experience. And then that can happen again and again, because most of the players that still play VHS have all put a lot of hours into it. As a new player, you play like 3 or 4 matches and go, I'll go play DVD.
Well, yeah, and this is something that people in DBD, it's like they pretend it happens in DBD. Like, well, I have to cut tunnel and camp on the first hook because I don't know this. I don't know what's gonna, because what if they're a comp team? I don't know who I'm playing, but it's like they actually do have a fairly reliable MMR system, right? So
I
but
can
in
tell
Evil
the first
Dead,
chase usually.
But in Evil Dead, that's genuinely a concern. Like if you play Demon in Evil Dead, you sometimes don't even encounter the survivors until after they've already put the map together. Like you don't know.
That happens most of the time.
You have no idea if you're playing against Comp Andy or brand new Barry. Like you don't know. So again,
you can tell very quickly when someone gets in a car or shoots a gun very early, and you're like,
you can know then.
Nice.
You can know then. But what I'm saying is, like, when you go into that match as a demon, like, you don't know if you're going up against a team that's going to be pushing you to the absolute limits, or if these guys are just a bunch of casuals. You can't really figure that out until long enough into the match that at this point you're kind of like you've already invested where you're going to invest. So I don't know. I think. You got these guys who play demon at the highest level. They go around the map and they like flip all the cars over so they can't use the cars. And they're like, no, I'm serious. They go so hard, right? They're just like, fuck you guys, right? But then it turns out that these guys are all like just 4 dudes who are drinking bud and like Saturday night, just gaming with the boys, bro.
4 dads. Home
for
like 2 hours after that.
What happened to all the cars, bro?
And they're like, whoa, the cars though. I guess we're walking, bro. And then the game's over.
Did you do that? Can we flip the cars, bro?
Yeah, and so it's just a really hard thing. It's a hard, but what I was trying to make the connection with DVD is that like in DVD you have these killer mains who will say like, well, I have to camp and tunnel the first guy because I don't know if I'm getting a comp team. I can't tell if I'm getting a comp team. I don't think that's a real thing in DVD. I don't think that exists. I think that your first chase is going to tell you what kind of team you're playing against. In my opinion, you're going to know after that first chase. Am I going to need to work hard, or am I going to be able to read a lot of chat this game? Evil Dead legitimately does have that problem where it's like, I don't know exactly what I'm going up against. And for that reason, as a demon player, most of them are playing like their life is on the line because they want to be able to win if it turns out that it's going to come down to a game of inches.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, just
I
the visual of like a demon spawning into the map and just like going from car to car, flipping it, and then going to the next one. That's really funny.
It's a real thing, man. It is, and so I guess
Car
where
flip
I go, I'm on a little bit on both sides of the argument, which I'm doing the Gary approach here and just kind of sitting right on the middle of the fence. But I do think that both of them have extremely biased POVs, and I would love to hear a take from somebody who plays a significant amount of both sides. And I would love.
It sounds like they should kind of come together and realize they've got the same. Like, should agree that there's it sounds like there's a separate issue rather than the game survivor sided or demon sided. There's a different issue that they should be discussing, maybe more about the game's design itself.
Yeah, exactly, and whether it feels balanced or whether it actually objectively looks balanced, right? Yeah. So I think that both sides probably have they're making good points. But now we've used a lot of time on podcast talking about a couple of videos, so
they should be talking about the true false booleans, right, Gary?
Oh my god,
the true. They should be talking about the true false booleans, right?
Oh, the variable thing that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
last note on Evil Dead. I am mostly a demon player, but one of the things that Sledge was mentioning is that this game is unwinnable in solo queue.
Yeah.
I played 10 solo queue matches. I won 8 out of 10 playing solo queue as Survivor.
There you go.
And I don't think it's because I'm really good at the game. I think that it's a very, very subjective what kind of games you're going to get. You don't know. There is no MMR. It probably depends on what time of day you're playing. It probably depends on what role you end up with.
Yeah.
I got a lot of warrior roles instead of having to play support. The games that I lost, I played support and didn't know what the fuck my team was doing. The games that I won, I was mostly playing like more aggressive, more tanky roles where I'm able to kind of directly impact the game more. But I will say that in a vacuum experience over the last week, the game is not unwinnable in solo queue as it stands because I won a lot of games in solo queue.
Gary, you know what we got to do now for next week? We got to both go and separately just grind some solo queue Evil Deads, and we got to see what our escape rate is.
Yeah, okay, and I'll play some killer as well because I like playing killer.
Demon.
Sweet.
Demon.
Tony,
sorry.
Tony, what's
comments?
what
dare you? Our Romanian viewers are going to be pissed.
Tony, what's your Evil Dead plan for the week? What are you going to be doing with Evil Dead this week?
What are we talking about? Evil Dead, bro.
Well, to bring it back to DBD, we actually have some hard news coming out of DBD. The PTB, which I believe is it coming next Tuesday? Is that when
it's
it is?
Tuesday, yeah.
Tuesday. So about when this will be published, actually. There's going to be a PTB with some brand new changes to the way that the game works. And the most notable of them, there's a couple that we'll talk about, but one of them is that the perk Unbreakable, which previously was a bill-only perk that allowed you to get yourself up off the ground after you get put into the dying state at, I believe, 30% increased speed.
Yeah, I think it takes like 24 seconds to get up off the ground or something?
Oh, I don't know.
24. It's 24.
Okay.
I actually learned some math for this episode of the podcast.
Oh my gosh.
24 seconds on the Unbreakable, yeah.
Doug's got the charts. He's got the graphs
I just had that in
ready.
the back of my head.
Instead of that just being a perk now, it is now going to be base kit for all survivors in the game. They will all be able to get themselves up off the ground instead of having a teammate come and pick them up. And this is going to be a huge change. I would say this is one of the most significant changes the game has ever had in its 6 years. This is going to change gameplay completely for both sides.
Yeah, it's pretty significant, but it's worth noting that Unbreakable, the perk, takes 24 seconds to get you up off the ground. The baseline self pickup is going to be 45 seconds.
Yeah, which is a long time. Which is literally half of a generator.
However, if you bring Unbreakable, doesn't it cut it in half?
It brings it down to 22.5 seconds if you bring the Unbreakable, and then you can stack it with other perks. What they did is they took all the perks the self pickup perks, No Mither, Soul Guard, Unbreakable. They're removing the ability to pick yourself up with those perks now because it's just going to be a base mechanic. And then those perks are going to augment the base mechanic and change it in some way.
So why would you would imagine that they would have to have a pretty significant change to Gnome Either then, because that was kind of the big bang for the buck, was being able to pick yourself up endlessly for the forfeiting of a health state. So what is Gnome Either going to be now? Just you recover faster, but you're injured?
It should give you 100% iron will and you shouldn't bleed.
Yeah. I agree. I'd agree. I think that would be really good. I don't hate the idea of a perk like Gnome Either, which gives you a tremendous disadvantage. You're basically rocking the game with no head up the whole game. My dream. But yeah, I mean, so you should be able to get some pretty substantial rewards. I wouldn't mind, like you said, full on Iron Will, no blood stains, maybe increased action speeds. Gen speeds could be faster. Vault speeds could be faster. I mean, give them something to make it worth forfeiting a health state for the
give them that was it spine chill vaulting speeds that everyone was quite upset to lose. Give that to Gnome Either. Give it everything. Go on, just give it to everything to Gnome Either.
I mean, it's
make him a fucking Terminator if they give up that health state. They can just do you can break walls. You can do whatever you want. You can give them the hacker kit. Yeah.
That perk will happen at some point. I think I think there'll be a survivor perk that can break walls.
Right. That could be interesting, yeah. Because sometimes killers will leave walls up, and as survivor will be like, I wish.
Imagine if you could take them the Badham preschool ones.
Yeah, preschool or like anywhere on the game really. That would be useful. They could call it the Kool-Aid Man or something.
Yeah, I think that the initial reaction that I saw to this baseline Unbreakable was this. The sky is falling. People have flipped out. Like, it's this huge deal. The game's going to be killer's already impossible, and now they can pick themselves up.
It's kind of similar to when Dead Hard was announced it was getting nerfed, and survivors were acting like it was the end of the world, and all the killers were like, "Come on, you'll get used to it. You'll adapt." Yeah, it's the same thing from the other side this time. But you'll adapt. It's not that big a deal. Who slugs people for 45 seconds anyway?
Right. Really? That's half of a generator, dude. Like, if you can't have done something with that slug in 45 seconds, you weren't doing anything with them anyways, right? Like,
right.
I pretty much only slug in a couple of instances. Like, I just like getting hooks. It's just like my favorite part.
Same.
I've only had to slug like for a win a few times recently.
But and this kind of comes back to the people freaking out about endurance. You remember when they added the baseline borrowed time, and then they had all these different ways to get endurance off the record. And when it went live on. When it went live on PTB, you were able to stack them, so people would take they'd be able to put all their perks together and stack like 4 or 5 endurance hits in a row. Metal of Man off the record, Dead Hard, all that stuff, right? Yep. And so then they were like, okay, we'll make it so they're limited. Again, though, in this case, like, people are complaining, well, you can get up off the ground in like so many seconds if you run 4 perks for it. Well, they have to run fucking 4 perks.
Exactly.
Yeah, that means they're rubbish in every other situation. Those gens are going to be slow. Like, I thought they were taking that to improve thyself and stuff. Like,
and all of that, can be hard countered by just hooking the survivor that you down, and you're good. Like, okay, so
right.
I just put him on a hook instead of leaving him on the ground. Like, and so I think that there's a very small subset of killer players that like rely heavily on slugging. I'm talking to you, to the 3 twins mains that are listening.
Oh my gosh. I thought Doug was going to name someone for a second. I was like,
no,
shit, here we go.
No, that's for the Patreon. But no, I just don't see it. I think the majority of killer players, and all of us here play killer at least a little bit, would agree that like slugging is not so integral to my playstyle that it's going to affect me in any way. I don't slug ever, like very rarely.
Yeah, but you don't play the twins. You don't play Oni, do you?
To jump in, right? On the twins topic, as you know, I'm friends with Linksy. I talk to her a lot. She doesn't really slug people for longer than 45 seconds. She's like been looking through it.
Right. Timing
That's
yourself.
True.
Yeah, like that's a long time.
It is.
Half of a generator. Yeah. Half of a generator.
I mean, it's about a fourth of your bleed out timer if you're on the ground for 45 seconds. About. So I do think that, just beyond the balance implications of this, I think this is actually great for the survivor experience because, if you're just left on the ground, it's so fucking boring. There's nothing you can do. Yeah. You just crawl around, and I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've sat there with my, meter all the way full. Like, somebody's got to come get me, and then you're just like crawling around like. What am I supposed to do now?
Especially good quality of life for solo queue, right? Because like you can't always rely on somebody to pick you up when you're solo queue, and you have no idea what the fuck those guys are doing.
Yeah.
So I think again, I think all of us would agree that the solo survivor experience could be improved.
I think it's a really good decision. And I also, there's those weird killers that try to bleed you out to punish you.
Yeah.
Like John, you'll remember that Freddy that I had on like
like 8
plus
times
or in the match. I forget how many times, but
and then he was
determined
determined
to slug me. He put me in the basement once just to slug me there. I got
he dropped you in the basement and then left. That was really funny.
Yeah, like he would now have to just hook me. He would have to play the game, have to do the objective.
Right.
I had a clown once that like he was pissed at me for head-onning him, as always, and it was like I think I was the last survivor remaining, and he managed to down me, and then he just like went AFK, and then he would like I think I got up once, and then he just immediately downed me again, and then went back AFK. I was just like,
which transitions us perfectly to the next update of the thing. So if you were the last one standing, that would activate the finisher Mori, the other thing that the PTB is going to be trying out, which is the idea that if you're the last person you're downed, you get instantly Mori'd in a
Doug just put his
place.
Stink face on. He's not happy with this.
Displeased
Doug.
So the concept of the finale Mori, to me, is not a bad one. I think it's a kind of a cool little thing, and I don't hate the idea of taking out the element of being able to bleed out the last person. Doesn't bother me too much. What I don't like is that with the announcement of the finale Mori, which again, if you guys are unaware, if you haven't read the patch notes, basically anytime you get down to 1v1 where the last survivor is the only one standing, and by not standing, obviously the rest of your teammates can be dead, they can be slugged, they can be on a hook. Doesn't matter, but if it's just a 1v1, if there's a survivor standing and a killer standing, the killer downs that survivor, it automatically goes to a cinematic Mori and the game ends. I don't think that's a bad concept out of the gate.
No.
What I don't like is that they're removing the ability to Mori in any other way outside of killer base kits.
Yeah.
So Devour Hope no longer has a Mori associated with it. Rancor no longer has a Mori associated with it. The Mori offerings are now blood point offerings rather than the ability to kill someone in the trial. And as number 6 globally in Survivor's Mori, that is not a joke. I'm literally number 6 in the world. I'm not happy about it. I had big number 1 dreams there that are coming down hard. I'm gonna have to be.
I think that. I mean, like the finisher Mori thing is not really that big of a deal to me personally, because obviously you're number 6, so obviously that's a big deal. The thing for me,
I deserve that.
The thing for me is like, okay, Devour Hope's like that's cool, 5 stacks. Okay, like everyone's exposed at 3 tokens of Devour Hope, and then they instantly just die and hook like immediately. That's like the same thing. Actually, that's probably better for the killer anyway. So you have to waste 0 time. You put them on the hook, and they're just automatically dead. You don't have to go through an animation. What I'm kind of disappointed with Rancor is the current changes. When the last gen is powered on, the Obsession's aura is read to you for 5 seconds. So obviously you can extend that with Lethal Pursuer, and then they're exposed. That's it. So now you no longer have the option to Mori them, but they were already exposed to begin with the original Rancor. Why wouldn't they have like upped the fucking stakes on it and made it so that your aura is revealed to like old object of obsession.
Yeah, that's
for
like
the
obsession
entire duration
style.
of the entire duration of the end game claps to really put the effort on like you need to get out of here, like that's a big deal type thing or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I feel like it was a missed opportunity there. To be honest, they could have done something cool.
Yeah, Rancor's gonna be a bit of a dead perk in my opinion.
Oh, for sure.
We'll take it after this.
Unusable. Why would you run Rancor when like Terminus and Noed exists? Like at this point, right?
Absolutely.
You don't need it. You don't need it.
I will say I am disappointed in not just Rancor, but like the perks in general, that they weren't kind of reworked a little bit to make up for the fact that they're losing like a Mori, or in the case of the anti-slugging perks, they're losing the Unbreakable aspect. Like, what's going to happen to Boon Exponential? What is that perk even doing? Is it just like a speed increase?
I think it's just going to speed you up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think they missed an opportunity here to kind of rework some of these perks that weren't used that often anyway. Like, I mean, I hardly ever see Rancor. It could use something more interesting happening to it.
Rancor's like a terrifying surprise.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, why can't I see the aura?
Oh, whenever I see the killer's aura like that right after finishing a gen, I'm like, oh no. Nah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's fun though.
Well, and I think that most survivors find perks like Devour Hope and Rancor fun. They
I
find
love
them interesting.
Devour. I love it.
I've never heard a person complain about either of those perks being like a bad perk or bad to play with because it's like a unique thing. And then again, like the original Mori, if you guys are unaware, those of you who are listening are unaware, back in the day, you could Mori somebody the second you downed them. Like you could literally find someone. I used to run a build.
It's insane to think that's how it used to be.
I used to run a build that was built around Old Dying Light, which with Old Dying Light, if you killed the obsession, everything got super slow. And I would literally run a build where I would like find the obsession in the first 30 seconds of the game and Mori them so that I could slow everything
Yeah, I couldn't
down.
imagine like Doug back in like what 2017 or 16 when I was that.
I was
easily being able to Mori people.
I was a menace, man.
You don't get number
but no,
6
so-
without playing like that.
Wow.
So yeah, Mori's back in the day used to be really, really punishing, and nowadays they're like kind of it was more just like a flair and a fun thing.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't really help out all that much, but I mean, I don't know. People enjoyed playing against Devour Hope. You had to work for it. You didn't just get to Mori somebody. You had to hope that your totem stayed up. You had to get away from the hook when they unhook, because if you were too close, you wouldn't get your Devour Hope stack, right?
Yeah.
So it was like to me, like Survivor mains I've talked to love Devour Hope because it's like a built-in anti-camping perk.
Yeah.
If somebody hooks with Devour Hope, they're not going to camp or they're wasting their perk. They're going to go away and make give you a chance to unhook. So
I have a question for you, Doug. Because I know that they took away, the chance to like Mori with most things, but they left the ability to like kill with Tombstone Myers, right? Does that still count for
They sure
Moris?
did.
So you can
They
still.
sure did.
So
Yeah,
if you
sure,
want
yeah.
that record, Doug,
I've already been talking about it, dude. When
okay.
they said that they're going to test it out on the PTB, but it's not going to go live in the next chapter.
Mm-hmm.
When this change becomes official and they take my Moris from me, they take my babies away from me, I'm going to be playing Pyramid Head and Myers almost exclusively.
Yep.
So I can continue to juice that number.
Okay.
So
He will be number one.
There's hope.
I'll be running Tombstones. I'll be running Pyramid Head. I'll be begging people to run through my M2 trails to try and get myself higher and higher up the
And they're
ladder.
going to be desperately dodging them into your M2. Yeah.
Yeah, running from the shack to a dead zone to get away from my trails. Yes, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But no, it's and I mean, again, I guess I don't really know. I mean, they didn't announce that they were changing Pyramid Heads. I think that I can't imagine they would. So there's been a theory that I've seen kind of rumbling around that the reason for this change to the finale Mori is that we're going to finally start getting what's been talked about for a long time is unique Moris, like more than just a single Mori per killer.
That'll be sick.
Like they'll have like unique, and we've seen it already with DBD Mobile.
The NetEase
like,
ones, yeah.
Yeah, the NetEase Moris, right? Yeah, so yeah, I if that's the case, I can understand why they're taking away the ability to just use the Mori all the time, because they want to make them more unique and more special.
Mm-hmm.
But the base kit ones, the Pyramid Head, Sadako, Myers ones should remain the same.
Yeah.
I don't think.
All right, they will for sure. They have to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, surely. I have 2 other things to add about the Mori thing. The first one is I hope that they update Wraiths and Trappers. Desperately update them. If they're going to make that a special cinematic thing, I don't want their little just in first person where you
I'm
can't
going to hit you 3 times.
Yeah,
And
I'm going to hit you 3 times on the back. You're
A
dead.
little back massage for you.
Yeah.
But the other thing is I've seen people on Twitter, survivors, quite upset at the idea of not being given the hatch anymore.
They can still
In the
be given
same way.
hatch.
You can still
Yeah,
be given the
yeah,
hatch.
I suppose
I think
yeah.
not down
I will
them.
say I think it's going to encourage people not to give the hatch as much. As someone who is very good at
As well
charming
it should.
killers and being adorable,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm getting the hatch half as much as I do now. Like I think it
Yeah.
would be like, nah, Mori.
I mean,
because I'm gonna do it.
I will
I'll be like,
say-
nah.
I rarely ever get the hatch anymore. Like, I kind of miss it, but I don't know if it's like an MMR thing or what, but I probably get the hatch like once every couple of months now.
I get it like once a stream.
Wow. That's that
Well,
low
I just
MMR
think that-
gameplay,
I
right?
think the overall vibe in DBD right now is a very competitive one overall. So
Mm-hmm.
I could see that less hatches being given out, less mercy being shown. But I don't think it doesn't take away the ability to give the hatch. They just can't carry you to it. It does take. I've heard people be like, I like having the power to give. They want to be able to carry you to it, make the decision, right?
See, I'm okay with that going away, because a lot of times I'll be stuck in a match with a killer that's like, I'm going to give you the hatch, just farm with me a little bit more. And it's like...
Also, that weird... You know when they trick you? They're like, I'm going to give you the hatch, and then close it in front of you, like,
yeah, that's going to be going away, huh?
Yeah, I won't miss that.
I think just in general, this is going to be good for the pacing of a match. Because now, a lot of times, like, you'll get done with a really sweaty match as killer, and you'll get the down, but then you have to pick them up. You have to take them to the hook. Sometimes they wiggle out. Oh my God, I hate that shit. And it just doesn't really feel like the exclamation mark that it should after a hard-fought win. And I think that the Mori will be a nice way to, like, you know, when you get the down, then you can just put your hands up. You can sit back and be like, I'm done. That's it.
That's what I do. Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that's pretty much wraps up what we had to talk about, yeah?
Yeah, finishing Mori is a nice little point to finish on.
Finishing Mori, yeah. Finish the podcast on a finishing Mori, right?
Finishing Moris, yes.
Yeah.
Overall, my impression of the patch overall, just without having played it, is positive though. Like,
same.
I like the slugging thing. Yeah. I think there's good and bad things to the finisher Mori, but overall, I think it'll make the match a bit more cinematic.
I have a lot of faith in this just because I didn't like 6.1.0 because I was like, solo queue's even more miserable now. But then 6.2.0 came out, and now I think everything's fine. So I kind of trust behavior. I think they've got a plan.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just hope they've got this. I hope they've got an equally good plan to deal with hackers.
Me too.
Yes.
Yep.
Me too. That's all I care about.
Well, with that, I think we're gonna wrap up season 3. Season 3 has been a great season of Spine Chill. I think
maybe my favorite so far.
Maybe our best. And I did make this prediction that season 3 was going to be our best. So, thank you everybody for the discussion today. Thank you, Tony SpookyLoopz, for joining us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Really appreciate your input and your experience here. Everybody, check out SpookyLoopz on YouTube and Twitch. He's got great YouTube content and runs a fantastic stream. Even when he's being held hostage by hackers, finds ways to entertain the chat.
Thank you.
Great content. Can't recommend it enough. But yeah, thank you everybody for coming, and we'll see y'all next season.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I'm not saying bye.